it off the thing right there.
Wow, but
Raubat, state your name and where you're calling from.
this is Shu right here calling out of New York.
How you doing?
Could you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you clearly.
Peace, King.
How y'all doing?
All right.
Good to hear y'all tones and frequencies.
Thank you. And good
This,
to hear yours as well.
yeah, yeah. I really like what y'all doing with y'all shows and stuff. It's beautiful to see y'all doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So, you had any experience with the seeing any ships or something you can't explain, like there may have been aliens or something like that?
Well, it's been a bunch. Dealing with our ancestors. The first thing I mentioned in the chat, I put it in the text, was visiting Shambhala astrally,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a great experience. Seeing the different beings there.
Uh-huh.
And I was doing a lot of Tai Chi at the time, so I know that was a big part of building me up to be able to have that experience, because you have to be on a certain frequency to experience certain things of that nature, because there's different beings you'll see, and if you're not vibrating fast enough, you might freak out because they look different.
Hey, can you turn your radio down?
You have beings that have different physical features, that might scare certain people. And I heard you earlier say something about being fearful is a low frequency. So
We're getting feedback. Can you turn your volume down on your
when
phone
you're
or
interacting
computer?
with different extraterrestrials, they come in
Shoo,
different
hey,
forms,
Shoo,
shapes,
Shoo,
sizes,
Shoo.
and
Can you
if
hear
you're
me?
not vibrating,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
Yeah.
Whoever's talking in the background, tell them we can't hear. They talking too loud. We can't hear them.
No, he's
Oh,
got a
I'm talking too
computer.
loud.
No, it's a
You got to
computer.
turn your stuff back down in the background.
Hold on. That's funny because I'm down in the background. How I sound now? I just turned my volume down a little bit.
Oh, shit.
Go ahead.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's weird. Hold on. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, you have to be on a certain frequency when dealing with certain extraterrestrials, because, like you said earlier, the average, if you're not on the right frequency, it might freak you out because they have
Yeah,
different physical features. They don't look, they look different. You got different beings all over the galaxy. So,
that's
you
right.
know, we have to be in tune and on a certain frequency within ourselves so that we can communicate and deal with them and build with them properly, you know what I'm saying, so that we don't get scared when we see certain beings that look differently. But it was all love, and I felt very comfortable when I was amongst them, and everybody was on one accord, you know.
So tell
And
me, tell me
you know,
tell me this. What the beings that you saw? What did they look like?
you got beings that look like you and me,
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
Nubian looking beings. You have beings that look like, because you got good and bad and everything. So you got benevolent beings that look like reptiles. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying?
mhm.
You got benevolent beings that look like insects. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That
Yep.
that were there. You have the cone head looking beings, of course,
Right.
and the beings with the big craniums. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
basically run. Shambhala. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying, down there. And it was just a really good experience. And everybody was meeting up in the courtyard. You know what I'm saying? Because there was a being that sits on the throne down there that runs it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that particular situation right there, I didn't get to stay too long,
Mhm.
but I got to experience that. And then you have situations where the adversary, like you was talking earlier, a lot of them are here living amongst us in society as regular people, and
Mhm.
a lot of times they can read, they can kind of feel or know, if you will, that you're on a certain frequency, and sometimes they'll come and check you out.
That's
You know what
right.
I'm saying? And I
That's
had a
right.
situation where, because me and my friends, a lot of times we roll real deep because there's strength in numbers.
That's
You
right.
understand? And one time they actually pulled up to my friend's house, and my friends were bugging out because they was like, "Yo, what's up with you?" Because I knew who they were because they pulled up in a regular car and was just staring at me. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I was telling my friends, whenever you see it, whenever you gotta really observe because you can tell the differences because basically they were Ashtar Command. You know what I'm saying? It was a tall white boy looking dude with blonde hair,
Mhm.
and without him getting out the car, I could tell he was about 7 feet tall because you know he was big as hell in the car, and
Mhm.
his counterpart was a female, and
Mhm.
I could tell she was about almost 7 feet tall. You know what I'm saying? Well built, and just not the physicality of it. I felt their energy, and you know what I'm saying. And we
Right.
locked eyes at the same time, but they didn't get out the car. They actually pulled off when we came out the yard because we came out the yard like 12 deep. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And it was just two of them. So it's like, it's a lot of different stuff. You know
You
what I'm saying?
sound like
Because
you sound
what's
like you
going
come
on is,
from the Bronx.
huh?
You sound like you come from the Bronx.
It sounds like I come from the
It
Bronx.
sounds like yeah, you come from the Bronx.
No, I'm actually out here. I'm in Strong Island,
Oh, you're a Strong
but
Island.
that's just
Okay.
that's just yeah, that's just the New York accent. Period, though. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
now I'm
saying?
from New York. I'm from Brooklyn, but you sound like you up in the Bronx area. I can kind of tell sometimes. All right, so Bronx, Long Island, and you got Brooklyn and Queens, but we got a little bit of different swag. That's what I'm saying.
That's a fact. That's a
Yeah,
fact. That's a
yeah,
fact. Well, I
yeah.
be all over the boroughs all the time. You
Okay,
know what I'm saying? I
okay,
love the boroughs. I love the energy out there with the different people.
okay.
So I'm always out there mingling with the family.
Well, so New
You
York
know.
got them all over New York. I used to see them all the time in New York. So there's a
Hmm.
lot of beings in New York that are not real human beings.
Yeah, and it's funny that
Yeah.
it's funny that you mentioned he was tall and white because that's what I seen.
That's what you
I
see?
seen a tall white boy, but he was kind of slender, but he was tall and he had like
Blonde
it was
hair.
white or blonde looking hair, but it wasn't long. It was short. But they was
Mhm.
showing me he
Yeah.
was an alien.
See?
Yeah. Because in New York is really reptilian based. A lot of reptilians run New York.
Yep.
California is more Ashtar Command. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? That's
Mhm.
why the porno industry is in California because Ashtar Command's running that.
All right, brother, we're gonna have to let you go. We got another person calling in, but thank you for calling.
Coming through like it's supposed to.
So Chief Shango says, do y'all feel like this has to do anything with Kobe's? Hello,
Yes, peace and blessings.
Peace
peace
and
and
blessings.
blessings.
Turn down their background noise.
hmm
Okay. Go ahead. What's your story?
Okay, so hi, my name is Shakora, and I have several in contacts with the extraterrestrials, ETs, ascended masters, and one memorable one was in 90, about 91, 92, 92, and I was living in Ocean Hill, Brooklyn, and then I started seeing lights outside the sky, and I was watching, and it was cold outside. It was during the winter time, and then so they kept. It was like a pattern developed, so they kept coming, like every evening around the same time, and then they would speak to me telepathically. So one night they got so close that the ship was like above the building, and it was like a two-family building where I lived. And they blew the strength of the ship blew out the window in my kitchen. And the next day in the news they said there was a storm, but I knew it was a ship because they told me we're here. So they were over the building, and like I said, the force of the ship blew out the window. So then my landlord had to come and fix it. So anyway, um, then later on they continued, and then one experience very vivid was they took me on the ship, and
Mhm.
they explained to me that there were different ones, the purple ones, the green ones, the white ones, the gray ones. They said then that the gray ones be mindful of them because they were working with the government.
Oh.
And they said like certain ones of them they have different purposes. So this is more like the ETs. They had different purposes.
Mhm.
They said there were ones that were like white, and they would come and they would carry out different data and research, and it would take. But they were testing the water. They were checking the earth. They were more like scientific.
Mhm.
And then so the ones that were purple, like they told me that I was connected, and they took me on the ship and said they were going to take me to meet my people. And the name of the place was called Asgarda,
Escarda.
and
Like that. I've heard that
it was
before.
it was like purple. All of the energy, it was just purple.
Mhm.
Then they showed me another place. It was like Emerald City that was totally green,
Mhm.
and it was called Khairuna.
Mhm.
Then they said there were different realms, and they were
Uh-huh.
telling me different names as Khairuna, as Garda, Stahriya, stuff like that. And then they said that we humans, like on here, we have different how the features from from the strains of the 80s. We have different strains, and they
Strange,
would tell
right?
me each. You could tell who's from
Where?
where from the
Mhm.
different aspects that they had, or different characteristics
Right.
in their personality. Like the Wild Wild, they said like from or Sahariya, they're good with their hands.
Right.
While Khairuna were like more like healers. That's how they described it.
Mhm.
And Asgarda is like on the crown chakra, mental plane, visionaries, that type of thing. That's how they described it. So that
Mhm.
was my vivid memory of that. They kept in touch with me for a while, and they would like give me a lot of information. They're the ones that they told me to follow the like a diet, like which was vegetarian specific, and they were telling me like the color code of the food and what it relates to in the body. And they
Mhm.
also told me like be mindful of wearing clothing with labels because it would take on the energy because it's like the way how the clothing they told me like the way how the clothing thing was created or being utilized, it was to throw off people's energy. So this was back in '92 and before.
Mhm.
So um, they taught me about um, like the different planets, and like the observe. They told me observe each planet, and they govern each day and
Mhm.
dress accordingly. Like moon, like Monday moon is so
Mhm.
then that's white and silver.
Mhm.
So I would wear white that day. So like Tuesdays Mars red,
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
Wednesday is Mercury, so that'll be purple and multicolored.
Mhm.
And Thursday is Jupiter, so that'll be blue and
Mhm.
orange or gold. Friday is Venus, which is green. So like that, they taught me the system. Saturday Saturn, which is black, and they would tell me each like there were different who governed the moon, what let's say angels corresponded to that planet, or who was over the moon at that time and who it relates. And they told me, okay, if you want to get things um, done, if you want things to be like effective in your life, you want things to move, then watch the time of the day or the certain time because it's ruled by a certain planet, and utilize that, and then you will get more things to go forward in your life.
Mhm.
So they put me on a certain method and a certain time frame, or let's say like the diet, the way I dress, everything. They would um, communicate telepathically. So I've been still in touch with them like here and there, but it's different ones that come at different times.
Okay, I was
So the
just I was
ones
just
that
gonna
I
ask you
dealt with
that. I was
primarily
gonna
then
ask
was
you
the
that.
ETs.
I was gonna ask you if you were still in touch with them. What ones have you been in touch with recently?
Okay, so recently I saw the Palladians showed up when I was living in Coney Island then, and this was '94.
Okay.
I moved to Coney Island then, and the Palladians showed up. Now they're tall and they're black with greenish hue,
Mhm.
like a olive green type of color,
Uh
and
huh.
they're tall. And because one time I was looking out the window, my window overlooked the sea, and their ships would be very visible at night.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
used to wake up then because I had started dealing with the pyramids because I had connected with Lester Loving, which is a guy that channels Tesla, and he does the pyramid information, all that. So I had my living room um, like a pyramid,
Uh huh.
and so it was totally purple,
Mhm.
and the Palladians showed up, and then they would visit my house because I would wake up and I would see like footsteps or tracks of them, and they would say they were coming because they were taking energy, and then he was saying like there was a planet or there was a war, and
Mhm.
then they were coming to take energy to bring back to their planet. What was instrumental though was that my you can say psychic abilities also increased, and I started to be able to like see into people what was wrong with them.
Mhm.
So
Uh-huh.
around that time, a lot of things had opened up spiritually, let's say.
Okay, let me ask you.
So,
Can I ask you a question
um,
right quick?
a
You have
lot
to
of,
put
Okay.
it to
of
your mouth.
Oh, okay,
things
okay.
was highlighted then. So fast forward now, what they communicated
I just
recently is
want to
that
see Korean.
the war is like they said, it's the disagreeables and the agreeables.
Ripples,
It's
right?
the lesser beings and the
And the
higher
higher
beings.
beings, right?
That's how they put it. And they said the war that is in effect now. They said it's been like there's been wars like this before. They said there was a war like on the Pallades before, and how back in the times, I know, like let's say to mention the Bible type thing, or Quran, or the lesser beings were sent down from the heavens, and and um the battle between the lesser beings and the
Wrap it
higher
up.
beings,
Mhm.
and so they say it was similar to that now. And
Right.
they said the president is a reptilian, and he's from the reptilian species, and so is his wife, and
Are you
it's like
talking
they've
about?
been
Are you
working
talking about
with the
President
lesser,
Trump?
huh?
Trump? Are you talking about Trump now? You're talking about Trump, the president
Yeah,
now.
Trump.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Trump. They
Okay.
said Trump is
A reptilian
from the
beings.
reptilian species, and
Okay.
so is his wife.
Okay.
And they said they're working with the disagreeables. That's what they said they're working with the disagreeables, and it's like they think that they think they have power, but they said they're going to show them who's really who really has the power.
Power. Right.
Um, they
Okay.
said this wars go back to like in Atlantis when they had a
Right.
war,
Right.
in Lemuria, ancient
Right.
civilizations when they had previous wars, and so it's like the same thing, repeating again.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
What they? Go
Well,
ahead.
I just had one question. Did they give you anything to create to give to the people on Earth, like to sell or get to the people?
Well, back then when I connected with the Palladians, they gave me like the pyramid, um, crystals. They gave me work with the crystals and pyramids, and I took that to Atlanta
Mhm.
in '94. I moved down in '95, and I started doing a lot of channeling. I channeled Elijah Muhammad, Marvin Gaye, Malcolm X, all those kind of, because Malcolm X had ascended, and he was in a different dimension, and he's like he's not coming back to Earth,
You know.
and
You know. I channel. I
um,
channeled Malcolm X
mhm,
before. I channeled Malcolm X on my radio show. And you're
yes,
you're right. He did say that. You're right about that. He said he don't want to come back. He was disappointed in his people when I channeled him back then.
yeah, he
Yeah.
said he's not he hadn't he wanted no. he wanted no dealings with earth anymore. He had ascended really high,
Right.
and so that, so I was channeling them and Elijah Muhammad then, and at the time too, I was also I come in contact with Khalid Muhammad, and I channeled him once when Khalid was there, and Khalid he wasn't even spiritually open.
Right.
He was
Right.
laughing when
Right.
the Elijah Muhammad came through.
Mhm.
And this was a store back then. It was on Covington Highway called Africa by Design, which was run by a Nigerian guy, and Khalid used to come there with his son. So I used to have seminars and read people and teach them, and then teach them about the pyramids and connecting with them. I would bring the pyramids and put them on their head during the readings, and for healing. And I started teaching them about the color system and the same information they passed to me about the different dimensions, the different realms, like Walwa, Safari, all of that. I was teaching them the different traits, all of that I shared with
Okay.
them. So this was back in the 90s.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sister, for calling.
Yeah.
We gotta wrap it up because we're trying to get more people to call in. But thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay.
You're
Thank you for
welcome.
that information.